Police out in full force in Hammasnskraal as residents stand their ground after violent clashes. The young woman who accused ANC Western Cape chairperson Marius Fransman of sexually assaulting her speaks out. Hello and welcome to it. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Tuduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandy Legangose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
You can also track our main stories using the following hashtags: Hammasnskraal and Spy Tapes.
The city of Tshwane says the Hammasnskraal land where evictions are currently taking place is privately owned. But residents say they won't budge because they've paid their community leaders to live there. 2 security guards were killed yesterday when the red ants moved into the area, destroying shacks. Violence erupted again this morning when protesters blocked entrances to the property.
Acts of frustration and discontent by residents who've been forcibly removed from a place they call home. The red ants arrived here on Monday, demolishing shacks and leaving residents exposed to the elements. The residents put up a fight and the situation quickly deteriorated. 2 security guards were killed and property set alight. Like many others here, this mother of 3 is digging in her heels and says she will rebuild her shack. Some of the residents say they've been living here for over 5 months and they've bought their stands for around 400 rand. The money was allegedly accepted by community leaders who are now refusing to speak to the media. Angry and homeless, they believe they've been failed by government. The city's confirmed the land is owned by a local royal family who has sought a court order to evict the community.
Our leaders fail us, our government fail us, because this thing we stay here by their say. But we are not happy what happened yesterday because they are not telling us nothing.
We are saying anybody who's got a proof that have made a payment, they should come forth to us with a proof, and those allegations will be investigated.
A journalist was threatened with a gun in the area, and the situation remains tense as authorities say the removals will continue. Leranzo Temba, Hammasnskraal.
President Jacob Zuma will challenge a High Court ruling on the so-called spy tapes. He released a statement last night saying the judgment affects him directly and is incorrect. Last month, the North Gauteng High Court found that the decision not to prosecute Zuma for multi-million rand corruption was irrational. However, Zuma's lawyers say the finding is wrong. Like the NPA, they argue that acting NPA head Mokotedi Mshe and not a court of law is best placed to decide what should happen to the Zuma prosecution. Yesterday, prosecution's boss Sean Abrahams announced the state's intention to appeal the ruling. Abrahams says the court's decision compromises the independence of the NPA. The woman who claims ANC Western Cape chairperson Marius Fransman sexually assaulted her wants him to have his day in court. This despite the NPA's decision not to prosecute. Louisa Vainan says Fransman hired her as his assistant in January and then groped her in the back of a car and in a hotel room in Kimberley. Fransman says he has been set up by his enemies within the ANC. Vainan has spent the past few months in a safe house.
It's a complete untruth. So no, there was no sexual relation with the individual. But I'm not going to you must accept, I'm not going to get into that details, especially because what she couldn't get through the process then, I'm hearing she now wants to get through other processes, and we will deal with it therefore in that processes.
Since the past few months and since I've laid this charge against him, my life has been upside down and it's been terrible. I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemy. And I feel like going through all of that has made me strong enough now to stand up and say that this is wrong and it's not right and it's not fair what they're doing to me. And it's not fair that everyone has their own opinion without me being able to defend myself, at least, against the whole country, basically.
How did you find out that the National Directorate of Public Prosecutions was declining to take the case on?
It's ridiculous. I found out via a WhatsApp message that they weren't going to prosecute Mr. Marius Fransman, and it absolutely shook me to my core. I was in tears for most of the day. I just didn't want to speak to anyone. I was just like a zombie.
Why have you decided to come out now?
For certain legal reasons, I wasn't allowed to step forward. But now I feel like it has changed in a certain way, and I feel like it's time to speak up about this, because if I don't speak up, then nothing will happen. Then I would have gone through all of this for nothing. To him, it's not actually much to say to him, because he already knows the truth. I just hope that all of these prayers that he's received will make him feel some type of guilt, so he would just admit it to himself at least, if not to others.
Schooling is slowly starting to resume in the troubled town of Wuwani, Limpopo. Violence erupted in April as residents protested against a decision to merge the area with neighboring Malamulele. 27 schools were torched or damaged last month. Today, the Basic Education Department briefed Parliament on how it's trying to get things back to normal. It's still trying to raise the 174 million rand needed to repair damaged schools. In the meantime, it's setting up 76 mobile classrooms. The price tag for that is 27 million rand. The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal is denying claims it forced Senzo Mchunu to step down as provincial premier. Mchunu confirmed his resignation yesterday. Willis Mchunu has been sworn in as acting premier for KZN.
Forced removal or an independent decision? Confusion surrounds Senzo Mchunu's resignation as KwaZulu-Natal premier. Mchunu says 6 accusations were levelled against him at a meeting called by provincial ANC leaders on Friday. But party officials have refuted this, calling it an assessment.
We will not want to be seen in the media accusing each other about issues we have raised with Comrade Machingwane. Whether he says there are allegations, 6 allegations or not, we briefed him out of the assessment report.
Both Mchunu and the ANC in KZN have declined to spell out the allegations. But media reports suggest Mchunu has been accused of running parallel structures after he was replaced last year by Sihle Zikalala as ANC provincial chairperson. Willis Mchunu has been sworn in as acting premier for KZN, with a cabinet reshuffle expected soon. Meanwhile, Senzo Mchunu plans to write to Secretary-General Gwede Mantashe about the accusations, as well as the manner in which the process unfolded.
I'm not doing that out of anger. I'm not doing that out of any sense of betrayal. I'm doing it as a matter of responsibility as a member of the ANC.
Mchunu is to be deployed to Parliament. Judith Subban, Durban.
7 years and millions of rand later, the Defence Forces recalling over 500 soldiers placed on special leave in 2009. They've been getting paid after a violent protest over wages.
In 2009, over 1,000 soldiers marched to the union buildings to demand better pay. Clashes erupted between them and the police. While a court battle followed over what measures to take to discipline the troops, more than 500 of them were placed on special leave. The National Defence Union says this has cost over 560 million rand in salaries alone. The chief of the SANDF says he isn't sure what the legal tussle has cost the taxpayer, but he did say he's tired of paying members who's not working.
We felt that actually their conduct was unbecoming and it was damaging to the image of the National Defence Force.
He warned that members are expected to behave according to the military code.
I recall them as individuals, and I expect them to report at a venue, at a time that will be determined.
Bikkie Greef of Sandu says this information needs to be communicated to the union so as to ensure members report for duty. But there's still the question of the troops facing disciplinary action.
Anything is possible. All options are open.
Greef, however, says the SANDF has exhausted all options to prosecute the soldiers. Carla Kutsia, Pretoria.
A quick look at world news now, and the United Nations is calling on all member states to take immediate and decisive action to end the conflict in Syria. This follows a coordinated series of bombings in 2 coastal towns that have claimed almost 150 lives and left more than 200 injured. Authorities say several cars were packed with bombs with more than 250 kilograms of explosives. A female suicide bomber killed 16 people when she blew herself up in a hospital emergency ward. Forensic investigators have started exhuming more than 100 bodies discovered in a mass grave in Mexico. Authorities believe they're victims of an organized crime syndicate. The area has one of the country's highest rates of kidnappings.
Here's to Lucy with all of his social media.
Indeed, I'm here. Thank you so much, Sandile. We start with this. Convicted murderer Sindisiwe Manqele is spending her first night behind bars. She failed in her bid for leave to appeal her conviction and sentence. Manqele killed her rapper boyfriend Nkululeko Flaba Habedi in March last year. She was sentenced to 12 years in prison this year. And the search for a new public protector is underway. A parliamentary ad hoc committee will interview potential candidates and find a suitable replacement for Thuli Madonsela. Her 7-year term ends in October. The committee tasked with finding her successor will report back to Parliament in August. A name will then be forwarded to the president and he'll have the final say. Remember, we do love to hear from you. You can check us out on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct. Or you can head on over to our website, that's eNCA.com/direct. Your business news and weather after the break. Money matters now, and here's a question for you. Do you always check the expiry date before putting an item into your trolley? Well, if you do, here's a story that may unsettle your stomach, but if you like saving money, this one is definitely for you. A shopping chain in Cape Town sells goods that have reached their expiry date.
This is no ordinary grocery business, but Foodies is attracting a steady flow of customers. What you'll step into here is a warehouse full of food that's past the best before date.
It all began initially buying salvage stock that had been damaged. And we just kind of looked and said, well, what happens to stock? And the guy said, well, we have to dump it.
That's when Bester and his business partner decided they'd buy the stock and sell it off at a fraction of the cost. Given the tough economic climate, it's no surprise that a business like Foodies is thriving. No fresh food is sold here, only non-perishable goods that manufacturers can no longer sell because of the best before date.
A best before date is a manufacturer date on a product that states as of that date the product is at its best quality. After that date, the product gradually will start deteriorating in quality, in taste, sometimes in texture or color, but that happens over many years.
66-year-old Harold Matterfin has been shopping at Foodies for the past 3 years. And like many others who come to the store, Matterfin is not worried about the best before date.
I found out that things are still in good condition.
And in case you're wondering, they've received no complaints of illness from anyone who's eaten the food. Jody Jacobs, Cape Town.
Right, let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Centre now. Here's Louis.
Hi there everyone, it's time for a check of tomorrow's weather conditions, and it's going to be a clearer and warmer day over the far western parts of the country, but some areas in the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal could see a bit of rainfall. It's going to be mostly cloudy, in particular for KZN, where temperatures will remain low. Showers spread into the Lowveld and the adjacent escarpment by evening, and at the same time there will be a possibility for a few very isolated showers and thunderstorms over some areas in the northwest as well as the Free State. A quick look at the provincial forecast, and KZN, cloudy and cold with a bit of rain possible for some areas, especially along the coastline where a 60% chance has been forecast. In the Eastern Cape, we'll also see rain for some areas along the coastal belt in particular, including around Grahamstown. Also a possibility for a few showers around Elliot and Matatiele. Much of the interior will also remain cold. Warmer air in circulation near the west coast of the country. Vredendal gets to 24, lots of sunshine in the Western Cape, and it will be mostly sunny on Wednesday for the Northern Cape as well. Very cold overnight for Sutherland, dropping below freezing. In the Free State, it's going to be a mild to cool day over the province. A few showers, maybe even a bit of thunder up in the northern interior later on in the day, and we'll see similar conditions for much of the northwest. We could see evening thunderstorms around Mahikeng, but the afternoon will be dry with a maximum of 22. Over Limpopo, mainly dry weather expected, but evening light rain possible along the escarpment, including Tsanin, and we'll also see wet weather slowly developing over the eastern parts of Mpumalanga during the course of the day. The Highveld should be dry. Ermelo cold once again, a high of only 14 expected as the cloud cover starts to move in. Partly cloudy and dry in Gauteng. A cool day lies ahead for Johannesburg, 7 and 19 your temperatures. A look further ahead to Thursday, and wet weather returns to the northern parts of the country, including Gauteng. Johannesburg at 17 degrees, while it's going to be sunny and dry in the west. And by Friday, all of South Africa is expected to be dry, and it's going to be a warmer day along the eastern coastline.
Thank you, Louis. After the break, school children in disadvantaged areas are being taught to meditate to deal with stress. Welcome back. Now, the art of meditation dates back centuries.
It helps calm and focus the mind.
Now, a new campaign is teaching kids how to use it in their daily lives.
It's not every day you get to go back to school to learn something new. Pupils here at this primary school in Bonsieville are attending lessons with a difference. In celebration of Africa Month, the I Meditate Africa campaign is going to schools across the Western Cape, teaching young minds the ancient art of meditation.
Meditation essentially is where you just spend some time on your own, being quiet, sitting in a quiet space, closing your eyes. And when you meditate, you essentially just say, I am nothing for those 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And the more we meditate, the more peaceful and centered we become.
The campaign targets schools in disadvantaged areas where youngsters often encounter gang and drug violence. It's hoped that meditation skills will help them deal with some of the stressful situations they face every day.
I think it's an awesome mechanism for them because they come to school very stressed. There's a lot of socioeconomic circumstances at home. When they feel stressed, they can go and sit. They don't need a lot of space. They can go sit in their own little corner.
I felt calm and peaceful, and it was peaceful and it was nice and I loved it. Thank you.
This has been a truly incredible experience. It's tough enough to get me to sit still for 10 minutes, let alone these beautiful young minds. A sure indication that the method of meditation certainly does help. Tanya Neft, Cape Town.
Here's a reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye. Police out in full force in Hammasnskraal as residents stand their ground after violent clashes. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
Next time, goodbye.